Thank you for joining us. I would like to just introduce a fantastic lady who we're talking to today. Her name is Cindy Gallop, and let's talk about sex. Cindy has launched Make Love Not Porn, and she's going to explain what Make Love Porn is exactly, what it is, who it's for, what service it's offering. And we're going to ask the question, how do we make less sex less distorted than we find on the internet and in movies, and help people feel comfortable about talking about it and their own preferences, because the internet and the movie industry are creating such a distorted view of sex that actually we have to do something about it. So we're going to ask Cindy all about that. We're also going to ask about disability and sex, because I'm a disabled person and I've had sex and I continue to have sex, and I've got 3 children, believe it or not. But how do we demystify this for people? Because at the end of the day, society is getting more and more sensitive about talking about these things. So how do we help parents and teachers and social workers and therapists get comfortable about talking about sex? We're going to ask her about a typical day in Cindy Gallop's life, because I'm fascinated. And I'm also going to ask her what she would do if she had a magic wand and just 5 minutes to use it. It's a fun question, but it's really, really important to me, because finally I want to ask her about some of the goodies that I sent her, well, all of them actually, before I went to see her in New York. Okay, now then, let's just take that away if I know how. There we go. Well, look at that. Genius. Genius.
Terrific.
Yeah. She says, and then of course my phone just dies on me at that moment, which is great. I just love the fact that these things happen to me. There's nothing like live, is there?
Absolutely.
There's really nothing like. So thank you for joining us again. And look, here we are. We're live, and we're live on X, shush, and on YouTube. Oh my goodness, and on Facebook. So it won't surprise me if we get binned in the next 5 minutes. But let's hope that those 3 platforms don't find us for the next half an hour or so. Because last time it was a bit dodgy, I know. So first of all, thank you for coming, and thank you for coming back again, and thank you for listening to my dulcet tones then introducing what's going to be our very ad lib video and interview, because we've been a few months now. I'm an investor, just for fullness. I want to say this because I think there's been some people recently that have been promoting things, but maybe not really being quite as transparent about what their involvement is with it. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but some Dragon Den and stuff. There's been some instances, hasn't there? I just want to say that I'm an investor in Make Love Not Porn. I'm not wearing my T-shirt yet because I haven't got it, but I might as well be wearing the T-shirt really with my introduction. I think you've realised that who I am and what I do. So I'm Mandy Jane, and I am founder, as it says, of Accessibility Partners and Inclusion. I work with disabled adults. I work with disabled adults both across health, education, and social care. I'm a social worker, a teacher, and a therapist. So it's really important to me that people get a voice in all arenas, but particularly in health and social care, in terms of their access to everything else that everybody else has got. So, first of all, welcome, and second of all, please tell us about what Make Love Not Porn is, and how it came to be, and why you are still banging that drum.
Absolutely. So, Make Love Not Porn actually was a complete and total accident, because I did not consciously set out to do anything that I very bizarrely find myself doing now. We are literally the startup the world asked for. So it was born out of my personal experience dating younger men and realizing 16, 17 years ago, i.e., long before anybody else did, very directly and personally, that when we don't talk openly and honestly about sex, porn becomes sex education by default in not a good way. So I found myself encountering a number of sexual behavioral memes in bed. I went, whoa, I know where that behavior is coming from. I thought, gosh, if I'm experiencing this, other people must be as well. I didn't know that because 16 years ago, no one was talking about this. No one was writing about it. This was me in isolation as a naturally action oriented person going, I'm going to do something about this. So 15 years ago, purely as a little side venture at the time, I put up on no money a tiny clunky website at makelovenotporn.com that in its original version was kind of a public service announcement. Porn world versus real world. Here's what happens in the porn world. Here's what really happens in the real world. I launched Make Love Not Porn at the TED conference in 2009. I became the only TED speaker to say the words, come on my face, on the TED stage, 6 times in succession. The talk went viral as a result, and it drove this extraordinary global response to my tiny website that I had never anticipated. Thousands of people wrote to me from all around the world, young and old, male and female, straight and queer, pouring their hearts out, telling about their sex lives and their porn watching habits they'd never told anyone before. And I realized I'd uncovered a huge global social issue. And so that was when I went, oh my God, I now have a personal responsibility. I have to take Make Love Not Porn forwards in a way that will make it much more far-reaching, helpful, and effective. And so I turned into a business designed to do good and make money simultaneously, which is what I believe the future of all business should be ultimately. And so today, Make Love Not Porn is the world's first and only user-generated and importantly, 100% human-curated social sex video sharing platform. So we're kind of what Facebook would be if it allowed you to openly, healthily, sexually self-express, which it clearly does not. The way to think about us is, if porn is the Hollywood blockbuster movie, Make Love Not Porn is the badly needed documentary. We are a unique window onto the funny, loving, wonderful, messy sex we all have in the real world. And what we're doing is we are socializing, normalizing, and destigmatizing sex, bringing it out of the shadows into the sunlight to promote consent, communication, good sexual values and behavior. We are literally sex education through real world demonstration.
And I think it's fabulous. I, as a trainee social worker and a disabled person, Make Love Not Porn is an eye opener. I don't know whether you can see me. I seem to have lost the camera, but I'm sure
I can see you fine, actually.
That's great. But it just means that I can't look at you whilst I'm doing this, but that's all right because we could hear each other, right? Everybody else could see us.
Yep.
Yeah, so as a trainee social worker, as a disabled person, for me, the idea that our 6-year-olds, right? This is the latest kind of statistics, is that our 6-year-olds are looking to the porn world to identify how sex happens and what is, as you discussed, a narrative that is not comfortable as a sex ed tool, nor as a narrative in the bedroom, right? Whoever you're sleeping with, frankly, come on my face, and all of those narratives aren't always everybody's cup of tea all the time, everywhere. But certainly it isn't the way that I want my children or anybody else's children, or those individuals that I support, to be learning about their own bodies and about what their bodies can do or are likely to be asked to be party to. So I just wonder, given that statistic, I think it's fairly shocking when I've asked people what age they think that children start looking at porn. I don't think I've heard below the age of 11, and yet we knew from the news reports that actually it's more like 6. As well as the website, do you have some? I know you do, by the way. I'm kind of preempting this, but there are some plans, aren't there, for expanding?
Sorry, MJ. You just cut out there a bit. Can you just repeat the last thing you said? Sorry, it was a little hard to hear you.
Yeah, my apologies. I could hear a little dodginess there as well. I can see you again now. Yeah,
Great.
my question was, given that young people are searching the world of porn age 6 and above because they're getting hold of devices like this, uh, and I don't want the children that I support or the young people that are coming up through that, for that to be how they access sex education. What do you think about accessibility? I mean, in terms of what children can access, and then accessibility in terms of people like me who, as I alluded to at the beginning of this conversation, I do have sex, and I'm going to announce it publicly on Facebook. I know it's terrible, and I have created children, so I've procreated as well as embarked in it, for my own means. But what do you think about access to the world, both inappropriate access and then access to disabled people in a sexual way?
Sure. So to answer the first question, and I'll move on to the second. First of all, exactly as you said, MJ, um, I have been talking to parents for 15 years because they've reached out to me from day one of Make Love Not Porn because they're so desperate for help in this area. I can absolutely confirm that years ago, a friend of mine told me that, she had found porn on her 7-year-old son's phone, um, because he was curious about sex. And because of me, she said she felt able to sit down and have a conversation about this with him, as opposed to going, oh my God, what about it? So it absolutely is. Talk starts in the schoolyard about sex, and children show each other things on their phones, which everybody now has at a very early age. So what we are doing about that at Make Love Not Porn is I'm delighted to report that we are finally able to build and launch a product I've had in the pipeline for 10 years, precisely because parents have begged me for it, which is the 0 to 18 and beyond sex education expansion of Make Love Not Porn, makelovenotporn.academy. And we are so grateful that you've invested, because you and all the other investors in our WeFunder have meant that we are finally able to actually build and launch this badly needed resource. And the important thing about Make Love Not Porn Academy is that it will be an aggregator hub for the best of the world's sex education content. We're not about reinventing the wheel. There are a ton of brilliant sex educators out there who face all the same challenges that I do. Their content gets blocked on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Their accounts get suspended. They're banned from advertising. And so I want to, launch what doesn't exist anywhere in the world at the moment, which is a one-stop shop where parents, teachers, children, young people can go to access the best of the world's sex education content across every possible topic. And importantly, this will be accessible for children. They enter their age when they land on the homepage, and we will serve them age-appropriate sex education content. And we're talking at a very timely moment, MJ, because just yesterday, as you may not have seen, I shared across my social channels a post about a report, a survey that shows that 50% of teenage boys believe that silence is consent. And by the way, 0% of teenage girls agreed with this in the survey. But that is what boys are growing up to believe. And another, reason this is a very timely discussion is because for the past few weeks we've been hearing about the horrific Giselle Pellicot rape case in France, and that absolutely demonstrates that, as an article again I shared yesterday said, men like to say not all men, but the Giselle Pellicot rape case demonstrates, yes, any man. It can be any man. And so we are absolutely going to be providing with the Academy the resources and tools for parents to begin having this conversation with their children as early as possible. And we're going to provide those resources for children to access as early as possible as well. So that's all about, how we are going to solve the issue of kids stumbling across porn or searching it out and being, by the way, utterly traumatized by what they discover at an early age. And then on your second question, which is about accessibility in a really positive context, again, from ground zero with Make Love Not Porn, I absolutely wanted to build our Make Disabled Love Not Porn category. And we've been working on this for years. I mean, there are some practical issues, talking to disability activists about this, because, not everybody who is disabled is in a position where, they are able to video themselves. They may not be able to find partners when they would love to. They may be dependent on carers who are not empathetic in this scenario. So there are a number of obvious barriers. But nevertheless, we have been putting the call out to the disabled community for years, because, the point I make, MJ, is it's not just about representation, which obviously is very important. Make Love Not Porn exists to celebrate the full glorious spectrum of human sexuality, but it's also because, honestly, able-bodied people would enormously benefit from watching Make Disabled Love Not Porn. Because, making love when you are disabled is absolutely about, empathy, sensitivity, communication, obviously consent. And I think able-bodied people would have a lot to learn from watching many more of our disabled, wonderful Make Love Not Porn stars. So it's something that's very important to us. And I'm thrilled to have you actively spreading the word within your community, because we just want as many Make Love Not Porn stars with disabilities as we can have on our platform. Anybody who is at all curious, our curators are happy to answer any questions you may have. Feel free to thoroughly explore this with us, curators@makelovenotporn.com. And we can absolutely, reassure you, give you answers, but we would love to welcome you on to Make Love Not Porn.
That's incredible. And I as a trainee social worker, I've been working with a lot of gentlemen and ladies, but gentlemen who are tetraplegic, quadriplegic, they've had spinal injuries, and individuals with learning disabilities over. And those conversations, when somebody becomes damaged, when somebody gets an injury, a life-changing injury, a life-altering, forever injury, the only thing that's never talked about by their nurse, by their doctor, by anybody really in their lives is sex. And yet, such an enormous loss and such an enormous grieving process people need to go through in order that they can understand what's there at the other side. And the idea that there would be a resource where they could go and say, okay, well, there's somebody else with a spinal injury who's still having sex. We remember that some of our very famous disabled people in the world, Stephen Hawkins, for example, had children. And remember during the film that people were really quite surprised that that was the case. So I do agree with you that people are interested because of we're all important, and we love to look at each other. That's why we have films, right? That's why we have soaps. We love to watch each other's stories, and I think that's a narrative that is sorely missing from the sex industry. In fact, as you say, there are many curators and many producers that are blocked from making brilliant work, and that includes women. I have to bring the gender agenda to the fore, in that actually the people that are making porn mainly are men. Would you not agree?
Well, actually, do you know, MJ, that is not in fact the case, interestingly. Okay, the adult industry, surveys have demonstrated that the majority of adult industry content creators are female, but what people don't realize is that there is a monopoly in the porn industry, which would not be allowed to exist in any other industry, but nobody wants to bring antitrust legislation to porn. A company that used to be called MindGeek rebranded itself as ALO last year, owns everything. So they own YouPorn, Pornhub, RedTube, Brazzers, Sex.com, Men.com, etc. And that company is male owned, and a lot of that is very much through the male lens. And because they own every tube site, what that means is, like, again, a monopoly in any industry, they have a stranglehold on the industry. I have many friends who are brilliant female pornographers, queer pornographers, non-binary pornographers.
Yes.
And they don't get, that they are making innovative, disruptive, fully consensual porn, but they don't get the traffic, the revenue, and the numbers they deserve because ALO, has a stranglehold on everything. And so, understand why the perception is that. It's not
Yes.
the case, but while that monopoly exists, it is enormously difficult for anybody else to get their content to a broader audience.
Well, let's face it, we only had the Pay Equality Act in 1970 at university. I was looking the other day at some of the adverts in the 70s and 80s, and I'm ashamed, actually. I'm ashamed at the narratives that we're still holding.
Oh,
And
God,
even
yeah.
more recently, the narratives that we're holding about, women as a sexy lamp or whatever it is that we're doing, that actually just continues to take those stories and that work of women that, as you say, is so importantly there, but it's not being shown, not being shared, not being celebrated, and not being part of the narrative, and that skews the narrative. That unfortunately means that some of my potential make love not porn stars really struggle with expressing themselves, vocally online, and that includes
Yeah.
women who are nude models who then are doing paintings of those nude models and then putting those online and being blocked, or even women who do tattoos on reconstructed breasts, and their tattoos, when they're advertising on Facebook to say, look, if you've got breast cancer and you're having reconstruction, they can look like this. That's blocked too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're not talking about this ILO, whoever they are, blocking just the curators. Actually, it comes right down. It burrows right down to the idea that when I put the word sex on the advertisement for this the first time we did it, we were blocked on every one but one website, which, if the word sex prevents it, we've got a problem. My young people with disabilities, the ones that I made, when I took them to sex education with social services and lots of other people there, my young person, my eldest, came outside with me during the break and said, Mum, they're not even using the right words for body parts. Can you tell me why they're using things like titties and
Oh my
dick?
God. Oh my God.
Seriously, they didn't know what the word vulva meant, or they certainly didn't want to discuss it with the young people who were there. He was 14, and he was very much au fait with our genitalia and how they worked. But he couldn't understand that the professionals around him were so embarrassed that they were still saying boobies and titties and dick. So,
Oh my God.
and that was happening. He's 32 now, so that was happening, just 18 years ago. Really, there we are. So it puts it into the context, doesn't it, of where you were. Even in sex ed for young people with autism at that time, we were still using a conversational narrative that he just found patronizing and engaging.
And actually, MJ, we had a wonderful email a little while back from a sex educator who works with families with developmental disabilities.
Yes.
And she wrote this wonderful email where she said she was working with a family who had a teenage son with developmental disability, and he was distressing everybody, including himself, because he was watching really violent, extreme porn, all over the house in public, and
Yes.
and she said she sat down and had a conversation with him and his parents, and they established, first of all, that this wasn't porn he wanted to watch. It was what he found when he was curious and went exploring about sex. So she agreed with them that as long as he only watched it in his bedroom, he could have access to Make Love Not Porn. And she emailed us, and she said it's 3 months later. He's just sent me this message saying, "Thank you so much for Make Love Not Porn. It's exactly what he wants to be watching. He's loving it." And honestly, we were so moved when we got that, because it's so important that as teenagers develop sexually, they absolutely need the education, and they do want to learn about sex, and they are sexual beings, and they want to watch, erotic content. But if they go looking for that in online porn, they're going to be horrified frequently by what they see. And so we have a number of parents who buy their teenage children subscriptions to Make Love Not Porn, because they tell us, "I want my kids to see what happy, healthy, loving sexual relationships actually look like.
Absolutely. And actually, that was I don't know whether anyone saw that or heard that interruption, but that's a gentleman from the States who he doesn't speak, he doesn't move, but he is a member of a group who are looking for sexual partners online called Outsiders, and the Sexual Freedom Ball Awards is coming up in November as part of another group that I'm part of. I really feel that people like Outsiders and the Sexual Freedom Awards and Make Love Not Porn, really there's an industry coming together that is now moving beyond this narrative, and I think that we just have to get so many people involved and so many investors that it becomes bigger than the big boys, right? And you've been working
Absolutely.
a lot of years to do that. So I don't have my questions with me because my phone died for completeness. And I haven't got a problem with that, to be honest, because I think that it's much better for us just to see how things go. But
Hmm.
I was wondering, if I come to the last question first, if you did have a magic wand and you could wave it and you only had 5 minutes, what would you do and why?
It's really easy to answer that question, MJ. I would immediately magically fund every female founder in the world. Because last year, only 1.7% of all venture capital went to female founders. By the way, even way less than that went to Black and of color female founders. And you can imagine that 0.000 something percent went to founders with disabilities, also massively biased against. And so I would instantly fund every female founder because then we would see a world transformed by the female lens on all of our societal problems that women like me are building solutions to, but we can't get funded.
Absolutely. I think solution finding is exactly what we do, because we've had to forge our own way, right? And we've had to forge a way every way through a different way to other people. And I think that makes us resourceful, resilient, capable, and powerful. But if the glass ceiling, as it were, is not smashed through, then what can we do? But you're an absolute champion for helping me do that. I am honored to be alongside you, and I'm honored to invest, because I just know that this is a really vitally important subject, and it's bigger than I think you probably ever thought when you began that website. And let me say, for those that haven't watched your TED talk, when I went back for the third time to watch your TED talk, just because it makes me laugh every time, and also the audience's response is really interesting.
Oh,
But
yes.
seeing the website behind you, where it was and where it is now,
Mm.
and I'm a member of Make Love Not Porn. I do have a subscription. In fact, I bought your birthday bundle. I think you did a birthday bundle, didn't you?
Yes.
Which
Yep.
birthday was it, and what did you do?
Uh,
Can people still
oh,
buy it or not?
oh, yeah, but no, absolutely. This happened 5 years ago. It was my
Yeah.
birthday, February 1. I said to my team, here's a crazy idea. I'm going to be 59. Why don't we sell Cindy's birthday bundle? 59 video credits for $59. And I thought, gosh, that's a bit of a high price point, but what the hell? Let's do it for fun. Maybe no one will buy it. Sold like hotcakes. And so every year we update it. I'm now 64. So Cindy's birthday bundle is 64 video credits, $64. But it's enormously popular, because you have to watch Make Love Not Porn videos to understand how unique they are. You cannot see anywhere else what you see, on our platform. I have to tell you, real world sex is more surprising, more innovative, more creative, and arousing than porn will ever be. Every week our curation team reports back on the latest videos, newest Make Love Not Porn stars. To this day, we will go, wow, did not know that was a thing. Okay, we are constantly being surprised by what people are actually doing in the real world. And so our members totally understand the value we bring and are very happy to buy big bundles of video credits at one time.
Absolutely, I am, certainly, because I want to try it before. But I want to try it before I share it, right? And I want that. I do. I want that narrative to be understood, and for me to be able to use that as a teaching tool.
Mm,
As I honestly would say that I am yet. I'm in Wales, and I know that Wales is close to your heart. You've got family in Wales,
yeah.
but I'm opening a space and a place in Wales where everybody has a seat at the table, even those in a wheelchair, to be honest, because I'm a little bit sick of not being able to get to those spaces. And
Yeah.
in that space is going to be a place of a community, of collaboration and of education, awareness, and of coming together. I can see that sex ed is coming to Cardiff. Sex ed is coming to the individuals who I support, and it's coming in a really community-based way, and it's going to be right in the thick of it, because I think we've got to start talking out loud and proud about who we actually are and how things really are, in order that that narrative gets expressed. It's because we're so uncomfortable, right? We're still
Mm,
using words like titties 18 years ago
mm.
to talk to children about sex education. So I think we need to take it to the high street, not just on the internet,
Absolutely, absolutely
on the high
right.
street.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think we need it amongst good stuff. So I know
Mm,
that I'm gonna kind of do a plug here just in the last couple of minutes. But when we came over, and thank you very much, by the way, I want to say to everyone that does invest, when they do invest £10,000, what they can do is they can come to New York, not on your
mm.
cost, but they can come to New York if they can afford to get there, or they're there for business like I was, and they can come to your house for dinner,
Yeah,
can't
absolutely. The 10K investment gets you the perk of cocktails and dinner with me at my home in New York in the Sky apartment, which MJ can testify is well worth seeing.
they? Listen, if you've not been to the Sky apartment, you've not been anywhere. And honestly, I think that we could talk about your walls for a week, let alone an evening. And what an evening! Let me say that you are a hostess with the mostest, and Francesca and I had just the best night. And to be honest, if that was all I was coming to New York for, it would have been absolutely worthwhile. Especially where your house is house, where your apartment's positioned, because I love watching where Amazon is over the road. Or I love saying who's that and who's that. It's fantastic. So if anyone is thinking about investing at that level, they should do it today, and
Mm.
they do it so they can come and see you. And maybe, you never know, it might even be a member of my family. You don't know, do you?
Ooh, that
We,
would be very, very exciting.
it would, wouldn't it? It would, wouldn't it? It would. So just finally, in my
Mm,
space and my place in Cardiff, unless I've forgotten anything, and if I have, please do correct me. When I came, I did send ahead
mm.
a little bit of a, I'd call it a care package, but I would, because I absolutely, unfortunately, I use the products consistently. But amongst those products, apart from the thing that I've just alluded to, there were things like this. There was chocolate
Mm.
and there was some goodies. And actually, although it's in the bin because I've eaten them all, there's the very these. I just can't
Yeah.
get enough. Right.
Yeah, I love those little cubes. Yep, yep. So basically,
So
MJ shipped me this massive, like, Dream Coast package of deliciousness, which, so love the chocolate. Friends and I demolished that post dinner a while back. Love the berry bites. Again, they're so cute, by the way, as well. They're just the perfect thing for nibbling on. I'm still chomping my way very happily through the fabulous freeze-dried raspberries and strawberry slices, which actually, I think, to be honest, those are my faves because, they are wildly Moorish, but they're good for you. It's not like chomping through candy. They are just fabulous. So I'm a big
it's a
fan.
win. It's a win-win, isn't it? I think
Yeah,
clean food and clean sex, right? I just think that good
exactly.
narrative. It's right, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's right.
yeah,
Real world food for real world sex.
absolutely.
I think in a space and a place where we're all being healthy, happy, and aware and open is just it's just where we need to go with this. So, with no further ado, I think we're probably about done. Is there anything you want to say?
No, just as always, MJ, it's a total delight to talk to you. I'm so grateful for your investment and your support, and I think we're going to do great things together.
Yeah, we only just got started, Cindy. This is just the beginning. Maybe now I've got the live affair and the sound and our attendance, and maybe next time I'll even get my questions and my phone won't be. But it's all a progress, and that's what I think about Make Love Not Porn. Right, what we're
Yeah,
watching is real people having
yeah,
real sex in a real messy, beautiful way. It's not perfect. It's not
mm,
orchestrated. It might be, it might be filmed, and for those people that want to know, it only needs something that big to film yourself
yeah,
nowadays. So
yeah.
actually, it is quite accessible now. But
Mm.
And I have been filming myself, by the way, just so you know,
Excellent.
I am
Great. Getting into the habit. Yep. Fantastic.
I'm practicing, because unless I do,
Excellent.
how can I share other people? But yeah, I think that that's what we're doing, and I would recommend everybody to go and buy that birthday bundle and go and see really what's actually happening in the world of Make Love Not Porn, because I want to be Make Love Not Porn, and I certainly don't want to. I don't want it to be porn. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it, but I do thoroughly enjoy Make Love Not Porn. Okay, well, have an absolutely wonderful weekend. I am ending my week with you, so I'm going to go and have a rest now.
I'm delighted. What a great way to end the week. Have a fabulous weekend yourself, MJ. And thank you so much again for everything.
Thank you, and thanks for coming on. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
End this. There we go.